night with an open mic Wolf Theater. Chum Daddy is going to put on a show. What? Do you sing karaoke? Sorry, I'm not going to be a doctor. Not at all. Yes, what are you going to be? Just now Rick Harrison dropped a bomb. Chumlee will spend the rest of his life in jail. It's not a joke either. Rick finally told everyone that the news was true when he was 59 years old. It really shocked people. Where did the funny Pawn Stars guy get himself into this mess? People who worked with Rick before will be put to death for what Rick is about to reveal. The fame that brought down the pawn shop family. Take a moment to think about that. We laughed at the guy with the crazy bets, weird gadgets and dumb looks. He will spend the rest of his life in prison. It's not a joke or a new season twist. This is true, and it shows how success can take you over and then throw you away. Chumlee thought of the pawn shop as a second home for many years. Now though, it's like he never existed. Before we go any further, it's clear that fans were very wrong about how bad Chumlee really is. This won't be the only thing that stops you in your tracks. But let's take a step back. Remember how this whole thing began? When the cameras came out, a small dusty pawn shop in Las Vegas turned into a gold mine. Rick Harrison, who was in charge of everything, knew what he was doing. He made boring old pawning into a hit TV show with his straightforward personality and deep knowledge of history and collectibles. Hey Las Vegas, how are you tonight? Okay, thanks for coming out. I'm sure there were other shows in Las Vegas that you could have gone to, but let's be honest, you're all too poor to go to them. Strange things were for sale. Old swords, rare coins, and even heads that have shrunk. He knew how to keep things interesting, and Chumlee made us laugh. It looked great for a while. Fans loved the way he and Chumlee talked back and forth. Chumlee was the star of the show, even though he played a fool. Things weren't so happy behind the scenes though. Fame made everything different. People sued each other, slighted each other, and kept too many things from each other. It felt like Chumlee was a rock star. You name it. Fast cars, big parties, flashy clothes. It's just that he wasn't made for that kind of life. He made bad decisions, hung out with the wrong people, and things got worse. He was still the funny guy on screen, so people didn't look at him. But the fun was over when the cops showed up. It wasn't just one mistake that got him into this mess. One bad choice after another piled on top of each other. There were some pretty big charges. Now the man who used to run the shop is saying it straight out. All of it is being paid for by Chumlee. It doesn't matter that he made people laugh on cable TV. The law is still fair. He has more than just Chumlee's fall to deal with. Everything is going wrong for him. There's trouble in the shop, the brand, and the family. Could you explain these things to old Ricky over here? Ricky, you look unhappy. That mess with his own mom, who says she was cheated out of her share of the business when she was sick, seems to have made me no longer need you. Her story is that he made her sign things when she wasn't ready, and she wants it all back. She even got a protection order against him and wants the court to keep him from touching the family money. All of it is lies, he says, and his 81-year-old mom is being used as a pawn. But the harm is done. The news stories give a different view. One day it's about how to get rid of Chumlee, and the next it's a murder trial. The pawn shop is in the middle of it all, looking like a ghost of what it used to be. The money isn't what it used to be either. The store used to make more than $1 million a year. They fell very quickly when the plague hit though. There were no guests, no walk-ins, and no deals. The store was empty, and there were more bills than cash. The kingdom that was once so great is beginning to look like a broken souvenir when you add in the lawsuits, broken relationships, and bad press. He always said that the store did more than just sell things. It was about history, stories, and emotions. Now though, it seems like every story is a scandal. The past is painful to remember, and they'd rather not know about it. Also, Chumlee's life sentence is like a dark cloud over everything. Fans didn't want this to happen. People watched for the laughs, the strange things, and the family fights. They didn't expect to be betrayed, sued, and have a beloved cast member go to prison for good. But that's what fame does sometimes. As soon as it pulls you up, it drops you. You can tell by the sound of his voice that he's still trying to run the business and keep things together. There is no longer any energy or desire. Too many fights and too many loses. Even a tough guy like that has to feel the weight when your right-hand man goes to jail, your mom sues you, and the money stops coming in. But it wasn't enough to just keep the shop open. What he did next made things very bad for his own family. The real reason for the smiles on film. Things really do go off the rails when they do. It was tough for Joanne because she was over 80 years old and having some really bad health issues. Everyone had to help her around the clock just to get through the day. It costs a lot to get that kind of care. It costs more than $115,000 a month. Since it looked like she lost her pay, she did what many people in her situation would do. She went to the courts. She made her move and got a protection order. It wasn't just about money though. This was a planned move. The court order wasn't just to give her money back. Not at all. On top of that, it kept the guy in charge of the family's money from hiding it or moving it around. It was her wish to stop everything and leave the business and its assets where they were until someone could figure out what was going on. Most likely the way he found out hurt him the most. It wasn't from her, it was from the news. Imagine reading the news and finding out that your own family is suing you. That hurts. He said he called her many times, but all he got was radio static and quiet. There was no one on the other end, so there was no way to talk things out. Any chance of a peaceful deal was thrown out the window. Really, no one will go back to a happy home after that much trouble. That family bridge was pretty much gone. But wait, this family has more problems than just broken hearts and court papers. You may have thought that was the whole picture, but now Chumlee comes along. Austin Chumlee Russell has always been a surprise. He was the fun one on screen, but he had a lot of problems outside of work. In 2012, he was caught in Hollywood shaking hands with a stranger. It turned into a full-on fight, and the other guy was left bleeding and beat up on the ground. Chumlee said he was protecting himself because the guy had made threats against him and his friends. It's possible that he wasn't telling the truth. It wasn't a good look either way, but that fight was only a warm-up. In 2016, things really went bad. At that time, the police went to Chumlee's house with a search request to look into claims related to an assault case. It wasn't just a friendly knock. They broke into the whole place. They didn't find anything nice: weed, meth, guns, pills, and even signs of stronger drugs. One of the guns wasn't even registered with the government. The charges are 19 counts for drugs and 1 count for guns. In the end, the attack claim was dropped, but the damage had already been done. People say and think bad things about you, and it's hard to get your name out of the news. Chumlee made a deal in the end, pleaded guilty to a few charges, such as trying to get drugs and having an illegal gun. He didn't go to jail, but his name wasn't cleared. It wasn't just what the police found either. How much they found. There were bags of weed, pills, white powder samples, and 12 guns, 8 of which were not registered. The party stash in that isn't like most. That makes it look like bad decisions were made. But don't think Chumlee is the only one who can cause chaos. I can't reach him because Rick's son, Corey Big Hoss Harrison, is busy. Chum thought he won $10,000 on a scratcher ticket because I lied to him. $10,000. Brought his own kind of chaos. Corey always talked like he meant it. Was out living like a rock star when he should have been running the shop with steady hands and smart moves. He got into trouble on a bike trip in Missouri because he drank too much and did something very stupid. Think about this. He's in a bar. He pulls it out of nowhere and starts peeing in public while everyone is looking. Not in a bathroom, outside. After that, he throws a bar stool all over the place. Not really fit to be a leader. He was kicked out of the bar for that. And when the news came out, it hit hard. He said he was sorry, but you know what they say, you can't undress in public. More trouble came up while the court case was going on. This time Chumlee and Corey made things worse. The party didn't go well, and just as things were getting better, another mess showed up. Corey rented an RV in 2020 to take a short trip in the California desert. Thought it would be fun until it wasn't. His job was to bring it back on a certain date. He didn't. The RV owner said that Corey's helper called and said that they had damaged it. Still, it took 2 extra days for the broken down car to show up. It wasn't just a few scratches either. The roof is gone. The inside was a mess. Lots of empty bottles. Even eggshells. Who has a party like that in an RV? It looked like a storm went through the damage. What do you get when you put it all together? As the cameras roll, a family and their team start to fight. In the pawn shop, they might act calm while talking about deals and old toys. But behind the scenes, there's chaos, drugs, and damage. Legal fights, protection orders, bar fights, drug raids, and RVs that are trashed. All of the boxes have been checked. It wasn't just a broken down ride. VFA said that fixing his RV would cost about $30,000. That wasn't even the worst part. He said that because of the damage, he had to cancel 10 dates. Take a look at that. Everyone would have been able to rent it 10 times, but they couldn't because it was broken. And you know who he blamed? Corey Harrison. Yes. So Corey didn't own up, he kept quiet, and he didn't pay a dime. VFA went to the police in the end. That got some attention, and all of a sudden, Corey's team tried to make things better. They said the RV was broken because the pop-outs wouldn't close and it couldn't go anywhere. Hair thinning. Man, you may have been going through menopause for 10 years. It's possible that you're the longest known case of menopause, and Corey had it towed back to Vegas. It would be taken care of by insurance too. That was it. That's it. Or did it? The harm was done even if he didn't get in trouble with the law. People saw and talked about them, and in the world of reality stars, how you look is more important than you think. There was more going on with Corey than just cases and news stories. He was really up against something much tougher behind the scenes. Health-wise. In 2010, he had to have gastric bypass surgery because he had gained so much weight. Yes, the weight did go down. There are now over 100 less, but that doesn't mean everything is fixed. Fame is a lot of work. It's hard to run a business. That's tough to stay fit while doing both.
But Chumlee was still on his side, and he even started a weight loss plan of his own. The bond is strong, but the peace is only temporary. There were bigger cracks in the show. Experts were always wanted on Pawn Stars, not just the jokes or the drama between a father and son. The pros were what made it seem real. They talk about the past, the worth, the rarity, and how to turn junk into gold or gold into junk. That's what people love. But some of those experts began to make waves. Think about Johnny Jimenez Jr. People knew him for his cool old toys. But in 2015, he was in the news for all the wrong reasons. They were seen on video outside of a restaurant in Las Vegas. It wasn't a sweet date night, it was a scene. I have learned most of what I know from Chumlee. I've trained with Rick a few times, but most of the time it's just Chumlee and me at night. He was blamed for hurting her, which didn't look good. He said he was helping her because she was drunk. But your name will always be linked to that. The fans didn't forget. Next up was John Resnikov. He always knew how to sign things and looked good on TV. Autograph master, right? Until he did something really bad. In 2011, he said that Al Pacino signed a copy for The Godfather. That's right, it wasn't. A producer named Al Ruddy was there. For a guy who's meant to be a pro, it was a big fail. It might not have seemed important to some. What else did he miss that no one else did? Most of the trouble came from Drew Max, though. He talked about all kinds of sports relics, clothes, balls, and signed stuff. He was the person to talk to. But in 2015, he was caught cheating. Not just one mistake. People who bought fake goods thought they were the real thing, because he gave them the thumbs up. That's not true. Buyers who sued him said he lied to them by using his show fame to gain their trust. That really hurt. Because what would happen to the rest of the show if the experts turned out to be dishonest? Fans tried to stick with the team, but things were changing. And if you thought things were bad before, the show began to fall apart in ways that no one saw coming. Pawn Stars used to feel real before the show changed into something else. You didn't know what someone would bring in. An old lunchbox, a signed Beatles record, and a weapon from the Civil War. The store was cute. It had heart. Rick would break down events, make a deal, and teach you something. It felt like the fights were real too. Dad yelling at son, co-workers fighting about what's important. Fans began to notice that something was wrong as the years went by. Some online users said the sellers had already been chosen, and the prices of the things had already been set. Things were beginning to feel more like a play than a pawn shop. The fights got louder, more emotional, and less real. It was no longer about the thing. The game was to see who could yell the loudest. The heart was beating fast. It went from being interesting to learn about a helmet from World War II, to being interesting to think about who would storm off this time. The hat from World War I is a cool thing. Rick definitely made the right choice when he paid $500 for it. I'll tell you what, if it's real, it's great for the guys at the shop. When you walk into a real store, you might find a strange gem, but you might also leave with no money. That was missed. As time went on, the stars stopped being real people and started being figures. Rick became the boss who was always mad. The guy who was trying to prove himself was Corey. Oh, and Chumlee. Still a funny one, but everyone had problems in real life that didn't fit with the show's mood, especially Chumlee. He had a lot of legal trouble following him around. People who liked him had to deal with mugshots, court documents, and serious charges. It didn't work with how he looked on TV. It was hard to watch. You had to think about what was really going on before you could laugh at how silly he was. That wasn't enough though. The shop also began to grow. Things like clothes, other shows, and even spin-offs. It felt like it was more about getting famous than building on what made it great. No one wanted another show. They wanted that show to come back. Which one? A strange thing came through the door, and Rick taught you something cool? It turned into a soap show with collectibles going on in the background. Fans took notice. It's hard to get trust back once you've lost it. Pawn Stars was well known, but quickly things went bad behind the scenes. Rick opened a place called Pawn Plaza to cash in on the show's popularity. That sounds nice, right? Places to eat and shop were set up near the big pawn shop, but no one came. It was really like a dead town there. Shop owners were expecting a lot of people to come in after the show, but there were none. Then people began to blame each other. Rick was to blame because he didn't do much to get people excited about the place. There are no ads, no noise, and no people. There are only empty tables and shops that are closing one by one. Some people even went to court with him. That hurts. As that mess went on, another one appeared. Do you remember Olivia Black? She had the coolest style. In 2012 they joined the show. I started my own potting business after seeing an ad for it on Craigslist. At the time I was working as a personal assistant and was looking for a second job. People really liked her. And just as she was becoming a regular face on the show, she was gone. A lot of people asked what happened online. Then the internet did what it does best, and found out that she had modeled while she was naked before the show. The producers didn't like her, so she was kicked off. Fans were not pleased. They believed it was unfair and maybe even racist. Olivia didn't run away though. She did what she did, which was modeling and working outside of the cameras. They even tried to sue, but the case didn't work out. She got better. Thank you for the show. Wait, things are about to get worse. In 2014, a man said that his niece took his collection of coins and sold them to a gold and silver shop. He said the coins were worth $50,000, but the shop only gave her $3,000 for them. Oh no. His call to the police came too late. The coins had already been melted or mixed up in different buckets. The store said, "Hey, we didn't know they were stolen, and those coins weren't that valuable either." It was still a bad look. Are you sure Chumlee committed an act so bad that he should spend the rest of his life in prison? Or is there something more secret that the public doesn't know? Let us know what you think, and don't forget to like and follow for more.